Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to Learnerspodcast. I am Musa Kaleem from Islamabad, and I welcome all the participants in this webinar. The webinar is on the Shariah Compliance and the business model. The guest speaker today is the Dr. Tijjani from Nigeria. So, Dr. Tijjani, are you there, sir? Dr. Tijjani, are you there, sir?
Yes, Prof.
Yeah, okay. Well, Dr. Tijjani Muhammad is a senior consultant, co-founder of the Annuity Ethical Consulting Limited, and he is also a professor there. So, Dr. Tijjani, sir, you may start your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof, for this opportunity. Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina nabiyyina wa ashrafil mursalin. Nabiyyina Mustafa al-Amin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. I welcome all participants. First of all, let me start with the Prof. Thank you very much for this opportunity too. And I'm glad to be a guest speaker for this wonderful seminar, which we are, inshallah, we are going to cover something related to Sharia compliant business and model development. I hope the participant will be patient with me from the beginning of the presentation up to the end of it. I thank you so much. Please, can you hear me clearly so that I can go ahead, Prof?
Yeah, sure, sir. You may continue, sir, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, when we talk about the Sharia compliant business and model development, we have a lot to think about. Yes, we have a lot to think about, first of all, because it's not just mere talking, but what we wanted to know actually is to understand what exactly is the Sharia compliance. What are we referring to compliance? When we say Sharia compliant, what exactly we are referring to? Let me start with Sharia compliance. Initially, when we discuss about Sharia compliance, we are referring to a certain act, a religious law govern the way to live a life. It's a religious law. Sharia is a something, while compliance is a something else. Sharia is a religious law which is being governed by the entire life. It's being governed, the law is being governed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gives the law to, he stipulated the law, and our life is being stipulated within the law. We are not expected to be away from this. We are expected to be surrounding with the law, that is law. That's what we are referring to Sharia. But when we go to the compliance, it is also law following, that is complying with the activity or the law itself. So when you mix two together by saying that Sharia compliant, we are referring to an act or activities that complies with the requirements of the Sharia or Islamic law. The term is often used, is often used in the Islamic banking industry. So, but it's not only in the Islamic banking industry, but the entire life of Muslim believer. What we are, when somebody said Sharia, you are expected to comply. You are expected to be part of it. You are expected to follow the do and don'ts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So nowadays, our business becomes so opened where the rules and regulation of Sharia are not implemented, where the rules and regulations of Sharia have been abandoned, where the rules and regulations of Sharia are not considered or are not considered because some are thinking that the rules are outdated. Some are thinking that the rules are not longer active. Some are expected the rules are not useful, but it's not. So we are going to discuss about this Sharia compliance and how to implement the Sharia principles, how to implement the compliance of Sharia into our daily business activities. That's why we even ask how to developed a module. So if you are developing a module, a business module, we are expecting also to look at the area where the Sharia is being concerned, and also use the Sharia in that direction, and also amend your own module. So let's look at the fund. Now, when you talk about the Sharia and you talk about the compliance, more especially in transaction area, in business area, fund is significant. You need also to look for a fund with the Sharia compliance. So let's look at things that have been attributed to fund. These are the 6 fundamental issues, that is foundation of Sharia compliance or halal investment. Number 1, you are expecting to have something called sharing of profit. We have prohibition of riba, that is unjust or exploitative gains. We have gambling prohibition. We have investment in lawful activities only. And we have upholding of ethical and moral values at all times. A successful and function with a real economy. Those are the issues that when your fund is coming. Yes, the echo is coming back. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. So these are the things, the 6 things, the 6 foundation that you need to pay your attention on when you are looking for a fund. So when you are looking for the fund, definitely if you are to use a business in order to put the fund into that business, we are expecting to be not among those or one of those things that I mentioned. Number 1, Sharia, that is sharing of profit. You are to share the profit when you source for a fund to business. Business, it has to be sharing profit, because we have something called mudaraba, we have a musharaka, we have ijara, and other products that the Islamic bank, Islamic finance has. Definitely sharing of profit is one of the fundamental things that you need to pay attention on. If you are looking for a fund also, we are expecting that fund to be free from interest. That is prohibition of riba. We don't want the fund to come from unjust source, because at the end of the day, things will go back to, will stay away from the normal Sharia compliance as we started with. So it has to be free from gambling. That is, it has to be free from riba. And investing in a lawful activities is also required from you. The investment should be something that is lawful, activities lawful. Sharia compliance also is expected the fund to upholding of ethical and moral values. When we talk about the upholding ethical, the Sharia need to be, that is the fund to be invested or the fund to be generated, it has to be something ethical, decent, religious, and also lawful product. And moral, when we talk about the moral, is well known to us to has a moral value at all times. So what we are expecting that whatever business you are coming up with, after accessing the Sharia compliance fund, it has these kind of attributes, that is upholding of ethical and moral values at all times. We also have something called a successful and functional with the real economy. We are expecting finance, when we are talking about the finance, we thought that the finance, the Islamic finance is only about the finance. It's not about the finance alone, it's about also economy. Because the finances, when the finances comes up, what will be useful to, that is the economy of that particular country, should be in active aware of it. So a successful and functionable real economy matters in fund that is attributed with Sharia compliance. This is our own introduction that I want us to just have it in our mind before we go direct to our topic. Let's look at the unlawful business activities. We have alcohol. In Sharia compliance activities, we are not expecting a participant or somebody that wants to develop a product to develop something related to alcohol, because the alcohol is prohibited in Sharia law. So once this prohibited in Sharia law, we are not expecting you to develop a business that related to this alcohol, and you are expecting the Islamic finance or the Islamic funding to fund that particular activities. We are not expecting that. So unlawful businesses activities are generally prohibited, such as alcohol as stated with, and we have tobacco, and we have pork production, we have adult entertainment. That's where the issue is. Some are thinking that adult entertainment, this thing, we are referring to something like pornography, and something related to that kind of entertainment industry. So such kind of thing is not allowed, it's unlawful. We have gambling, as I stated earlier. We have military equipment, that is weapon, in other words. All these kind of activities under Islamic business, under Islamic finance, or under this thing is prohibited, is not allowed. So we are not expecting you to develop a module related to such kind of activities of businesses, so that, and you are expecting the financial institution which is named Islamic financial institution to fund that kind of business. It's not possible. Financial services, something like involving riba, gambling, speculation, like I mentioned earlier, they are all not allowed. Let's look at the history of finance, Sharia and finance. Before, in 1950, for instance, before 1950, there was nothing to be talking about like Sharia compliance or Sharia businesses. There is nothing related to that. So 1950 today, we have nothing related to Sharia issues. For instance, we have it then before, but in that area up to now, it's little a small number of financial institutions or community institutions that you can find this around the world. That's why we are saying before 1950, there was no tangible thing. There is no record related to that. And imagining the kind of booming that financial institution, Islamic financial institution and Islamic economic system are working on, how imagine from now to 2050, what do you think will happen? Much of businesses, much of things are happening. Much of things will be at that point, because we are coming to the issue of also halal. But now we are trying to look at when and how and now where are we? So before 1950, like I said, there was nothing, but you can see the activities of Islamic financial institution and kind of booming the Islamic finance act. So now you are imagining how that will be in 2050. Also, halal economy or Islamic economy. At times, people thinking that halal economy is something else and Islamic economy is another thing. They're all the same thing. Because whatever you are to come with it in a system, in a society, we are expecting that kind of thing to be halal. Now you can see a lot of things are happening around the world where the halal earning and halal eating are moving in the same direction. But please, before I even go far, I would like also to make some questions here. I don't know if there are any person that can differentiate between halal eating and halal earning. Can someone just tell me, do you think that which one is more important in our life nowadays?
Okay, can you repeat the question again, sir, Dr. Tijjani?
What I'm trying to say, halal economy, you know, a lot of us are thinking that the halal economy and Islamic economics is different thing. But what I'm trying to say it here is, please, is there any difference? Do you think we have halal eating and we have halal earning? When we said halal eating, something that you consumed. When we said halal earning, something that you earn from your working day by day activities or in your day activities, in your business places, in your working environment, in your places that you use to earn your monthly or weekly income. So which one is more preferable when we compare both of the two? Halal eating is more preferable for us as a Muslims to pay attention on, or halal earning? Which one?
Well, I think both are important because earning and eating both are important. Yes, any participants?
Yes, sir. I think both are important.
Very excellent. That is bold and important. That's what I wanted us to also pay our attention on. That's what leads us to the issue of medicine. In a developed world, you can see anything that is being certified by an agency, which is being named as a halal agency, which are overseeing the activities of a product being produced by any company. You can see the logo or the pinpoint of halal written on it. But in a developing country, those countries that are coming up, I don't believe that there are such kind of things. But for those that move around the world, they can see this kind of thing. So now it goes beyond the issue of how to earn or how to eat. Even the medicine now, it has to be, we are going for the station, or we are moving for the direction where even our dress and medicine and even hotel you are to stay in for a day or 2 days, it has to be Sharia compliant. We are moving for to the direction where halal tourism are being introduced. We are living to the places where even swimming wears should be halal. Even football wears it has to be halal, because we have a population. The Muslim population around the world, if we look at it critically, its impact to the world economy massively. It's not a small number. So let's all look at the halal earning and eating. There is a lot of hadith, and the Prophet ﷺ this thing that prohibits such kind of things. And even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hadith number 2, if I may recall it vividly, where somebody traveled from his place to another place, and he he was covered with the dust, and he lifted his hand towards the sky and asking or making supplication, dua, asking Allah, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. But what has been all the attribute that somebody may attribute himself with it, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to answer his prayers, that person has attributed it. He has the attribution. He has the attributes. But the problem the person is facing, his food is unlawful. His drinks is unlawful. He drinks unlawful thing. He clothes unlawfully. And also his nourishments are unlawful. So, and at the last of hadith, or the last point of part of the hadith, Prophet says, فَأَنَّا يُسْتَجَابُ لَهُ. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer that. And you know there are several hadiths says that Inna Allah jamilun yuhibbu jamal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beautiful, that is his beautiful, jamal, that is beautiful, and he wants things, he's purified and beautiful, and he wants something that is purified to be attributed to him. So something that you bring that is unpurified, you are eating haram, you are clothing haram, you are wearing haram. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hadith number 2 or 3, if I may recall it vividly in Arba'una hadith, shows that your prayer, your supplication will not be answered.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Also, there is things that before I go to the business and scopes of Sharia compliant, there is verse also. A lot of people, they are saying that they are afraid of Sharia compliance business. The reason is because they think that their business will be ruined, which is wrong. Their business cannot be wrong, because Shaitan is instigating that to them, thinking that yes, of course, that of course will eliminate their profit. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did mention that in Baqarah chapter 2, verse 268, he said, Ash-shaytanu ya'idukumul fakara wa ya'amurukum bil fasha wallahu ya'idukumul maghfira minhu wa fadla. All the time Shaitan is threatening you with the poverty, and said, okay, if I implemented this because the Sharia, there is no much profit. I will prove you wrong, that the profit, you can maximize your profit through Sharia compliant more than the conventional system of economy, more than the conventional system of financing. You can have a distance. I can assure you that, because we have tested it and we are seeing the result. So the business and scopes of the Sharia compliance, let's look at it. People think that the contract only is related to Sharia compliance and business activities. It's not, it's part of it. Even policy, such as RH policies, they are part of Sharia compliance. We have operations also, like activities rendering within the society, is also related to Sharia compliance. And we have participation, such as maintaining prayers time, that is perception of the customers and also the staff of that particular organization. They are to have that such perception. So even your perception has to attribute the Sharia compliance things. Sharia compliance is not about buying and selling alone. No, about the operation of the organization is part of it. About the policy implementing a regulation ruling the system is part of it. And also perception given by the staffs and customers. They are to attribute themselves with what we call Sharia compliance. Okay, under this professionalism, under Sharia compliance, we have something that we call routine job description. Most of our writers, they just wrote a business description without thinking of how to insert Sharia activities, how to insert Sharia compliance activities in that business or job description. For someone that you are giving him a job, you have to describe the required duty and activities being required from him, number one. So you are not to forget that he has also something that is called a time for prayer, and also how to entertain people, how to attribute, how to interact, and how to discuss. If that one is a part of job being given to him, it has to be also described based on that thing, based on that job description. You have to give that, number one. Appraisal system performance. When you come to the system performance, asking the performance of your staff, you are not just to appraise, to assess the staff based on their coming on time, which is a part of it, but no, based on their time they're spending in entertaining customers, which is part of appraisal, but what is being needed, Sharia compliance appraisal need to be included. That is, how did that staff deal with the Sharia rules? How he governed, or how he also practicalized, putting into practical reality the performance towards the Sharia activities. We have also certain targets for marketing. You know, more especially in the banking institutions, they have such kind of thing. Manager need to be given some target to marketers. We need you to bring this, to bring that, to bring that. The problem we are having is some are saying that if you do not get it, you will be fired. Some are saying, no, please, we are expecting to bring this. They are not looking at the Sharia part of it. But in the Sharia target, we need to set a Sharia target where it's not contradicting our Sharia principles. It's not contradicting our Sharia activities. So in professionalism, this is important. We need to look at this area too. We have something we call credit assessment techniques, which is I use 5C. You know, conventional system, they are using 5 credits. When somebody comes to borrow from the financial institution, they need to look at this credit assessment. But Islamic banking system or any institution that is related to Islamic institution, they are thinking that those 5 C's, they are not related to them. They are related to you if you want it, but you can use it based on Sharia part of it. For instance, somebody came to you, wanted to borrow a money, so you have to look at the capital of that particular institution. That is credit history of that particular institution or organization. So credit assessment, like I've said, is a technique being used by 5C. All institutions that deals with financial issues, they are related to that capital. If institution or organization came into the certain financial institution looking for loan, they need to assess the capital history of that particular institution. If an individual, character need to be assessed too. Condition need to also look into it, and collateral and capacity. All these things, they are important and significant in terms of credit assessment. You cannot give your money out because you are a Sharia compliant institution, trying to be Sharia compliant, and you are to conduct your investment on an issue that is not relevant to. The credit assessment is significant, is important. Only what we need to use it is to use it based on Sharia compliance, based on the way that do not contradict the Sharia, as we are going to discuss on it thoroughly. The issue related to that, the Sharia compliance is something that has to attribute some institutions like halal labels product, Islamic bank, Takaful operation, Islamic fintech, and other institutions that are relevant and also related to Islamic financial institution. All the institutions, we need our institutions to be Sharia compliant. Sharia compliance, like I've said, please, people should not misunderstood it, is something that is being governed based on rules and regulations stipulated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is a total code of life that people are in need of it. So this is number one. It eliminates something called exploitative and also riba-associated gambling and speculation or uncertainty. These are the most important things that we need to understand about Sharia compliance. I wanted us to move to another issue, which is business model, but I highlight and recap what we have discussed previously. Let's look at the business model and how that is being attributed. Initially, business model is just a model being designed for a business activities and describe how to organize your businesses and how to go about your businesses and how to deliver the businesses or capture the area you wanted the business to go for. So the development of module is something that is very important, which is deal with the creating value, delivering value, and also capturing value. So they are so significant because it's described as a rationale and how a business or venture accomplishes three things, which I did mention previously: creating the value, delivering a value, and capturing value. So by looking into that area, the strategic area of business model are offer. Please, people should just demarcate line between business strategy and business model. Business strategy is a plan being developed to run or to move your business, to move your businesses. But business model is different with business strategic business, which is deal with plans. So number one, strategic area of business model, we have something called offer. Offer is the first thing that the product solve a real issues related to offering the product to a community, to a society where they believe that that will be possible or can be determined how to go for it. Number two, the most significant thing is a strategic area for business model is customers. Who are you offering the product to? Customers, consumers, those that will use it. You must know that the target consumers for that product are captured. Number three, we need to look at the infrastructure. Infrastructure is the resources of that business model. When you are developing a model for a certain business, you need to think of those things. Offer, what am I going to offer to an individual or to community to appreciate my offering? And what type of customers I want to use in order to attract them to come into my product and also participate in my product. And number three, infrastructure, where the resources are and how the skills and experience individual and how to get the capital and machineries of that particular thing, it has to be covered too. And lastly, we have financial viability. So that is a very important tool, which is business need to be viable in terms of revenue generation, in terms of cost, profitability, breakup analysis, and economic units. All these things are important to think of when it comes to the issue related to business model. So don't forget that we have talked about the Sharia compliance model, but in a normal business model, these are the areas that business creators, business innovators, business model developers, they look into it without what? Without involving another thing. So in this context, we have to add something that which is very important: Sharia compliance all over the world. The issues, all from the offer, from the customers, from the infrastructure, from the financial viability, it has to be Sharia compliant, which I do believe that maybe the question will come up based on that. Let us go and see the examples of how you can develop a module, how you can give out a module that is Sharia compliant and people will appreciate it. Let's look at this. This one is being developed by Muhammad Tijjani and Professor Besser, which I caught from them, and I wanted us to discuss about this. When we look at this person is trying to develop a module that can deal with crowdfunding murabaha, debt module. So normally we have conventional murabaha crowdfunding. We have crowdfunding, which is crowdfunding is to generate money from individual and boost the business so that the business will go out and people will benefit from the business. So, but this one, crowdfunding, they turn it into a murabaha crowdfunding. How that one works, I wanted us to look at the graph very carefully. We see that the first part of it is what idea of entrepreneur. Entrepreneur developed an idea. He wanted a financial institution to fund that idea. So if we look at it, number two, he must submit that idea to a certain group of people and also up to the end of it. Let us look at it and read number one idea. The idea of an entrepreneur to access funds to build a company or to purchase useful type of machinery will generate income from the business. That is the idea number one. If we look at it, we can see the number one here. So this is the idea. It's been submitted to Sharia compliance crowdfunding platform. So number two, the investigation, that is the idea, the investigation of Sharia expert has been took place by those who are relevant, looking at the halal product before even advertising to people to bring their income into the services, into the system. So who are those people? They are Sharia experts, which is Sharia compliant experts. They need to look at the product, screen the product. Is it the product is allowed? Is it the product can work towards the Sharia compliance? After certifying that kind of investment or screening out the product being submitted by an individual. So number three, what will happen? That is the product advertisement. So let's look at the number three. Now, the Sharia compliant platform of crowdfunding will advertise the crowdfunding intervention from the investors to invest in this particular product developed by an entrepreneur. That is the product development. Number four, investors subscribe and fund the platform based on that Sharia product. So the investors at that point, they will pull their money into that Sharia compliance product. Once they agree that this Sharia expert has done their work and submitted, and now it's been advertised, they have 100% assurance that that institution will not betray them. So once they name the product as a Sharia compliant, exactly that's what will happen. So they will submit the product, they will give out the product, they will fund the product, they will put their money into that particular product so that the product will come to an existence. Number five, they raise the capital to fund the project. So number five, they fund the project to this particular individual, which is an entrepreneur. Number six, pay back after some period stipulated plus cost plus for the investor. So in this part, the investor and entrepreneur or the platform, the Sharia board, has some stipulated amount, a stipulated percentage being given to an entrepreneur. But if losses happen at that point, it solely goes to the capital owners. But once there are, what do we call it, profit earning, once they earn profit, so there are a stipulated percentage still given by a Sharia expert to that entrepreneur. An entrepreneur agreed and signed that, yes, he agreed with that percentage and will be given when he earned profit. No matter how, even a $5 he got it, he can share it based on 50-50, 60-50, 40-50, depends on what type of agreement they agree upon. So that one is very important for us to understand it. And number seven, full payment or installment depend on agreement reached between the entrepreneur and crowdfunding platform. So it depends on how the entrepreneur will pay the money. Is he going to pay it once or no in installment basis? Depends on what they have agreed between the customer, between the platform and the entrepreneur. And finally, pay the platform as agreed after you finalize your product based on the time being stipulated between you and platform and crowdfunding. The company has an option on demand payment earlier or services to be rendered after completing the company demand for payment. So this is the example of how crowdfunding, normal crowdfunding is, and how Islamic model being developed based on crowdfunding. And I have the same scenario, some example too, with the crowdfunding in Musharaka. This one, they had to share it. Even losses happen, even issue related to loss happen, it will be shared amongst the entrepreneur, that is the entrepreneur, and the investors. That one is what is clearly stated. The procedure are the same thing, only the differences is that one is murabaha and this one is musharaka. So this is how you can innovate your own product. You can bring out your own solution to the issue related to search, to the issue related to a business, a Sharia compliant business model. Let's look at the Industrial Revolution. Both in Islamic, in Sharia compliant business and conventional, they are expected to meet the expectation of Industrial Revolution, because now we are in an age where the technology play a significant role and also move and driven the business forward. If technologically deficient, definitely you have not much to do with the businesses because you will be losing some of the areas. That's why we have highlighted some to discuss on. Number one, we have that is moving towards subscription model. If you look at it, even Apple now, for instance, Apple now, they are moving towards subscription. Now we have data subscription, we have this subscription, we have that subscription, we have this subscription. So now the age, our current age, if you are developing module, you have to think towards that. People are moving even towards a subscription mode. So once you develop a module, it has to be something you wanted people to subscribe towards it. So subscription is significant. Even Apple, they are now trying to develop something related to subscription, and you'll be subscribing their applications or their phones before making use of it. But it's a process thing. So if you are developing module, please do think about that. Creation of platform business. You are not just to build your company in a locality and leave it without any platform that can widen your own business. No, you have to think towards that. The business is not longer something locally. You can create a platform where even in a WhatsApp, in a Facebook, like Uber, for instance, they have their own platform. So being social and authentic businesses. So your own businesses need to be verified. Your own businesses need to be authentic, so that people, if you are thinking towards that, you need to find an expert to think towards that. Because now we have a lot of fraud around the world. People are taking that opportunity to fool people. So you have to think towards that. We have business who focuses on their employees. You need to have that. Businesses that it has to focus towards your employee. Now the business has become a competitive something. You have to develop something that something like incentives that will attract employee, that can give out, can attract expert towards your own business, that can give people an impression to come into a business so that they can develop that business towards your expectation. That has to deal with the allowances of that kind of people, how to maintain their daily needs, how to go towards their own activities and tackle those kind of things, because the human resource, that is the human resource, is important. We have number 5, which is being more pattern centric. What I'm referring to that is to look at the people who are called skills, those that has the skills you need, those that has a business idea, something like HR, something like HR and social media. Now the social media is all over. So if you don't have somebody that can be controlling your social media handles, try to pull up the product and also update the product that are new, try to give them what nice picture, nice attribute, nice that, nice this. Definitely, if you have not that, definitely in your model, you have left a lot of things. So you need to think towards that. If also you are going through industrial revolution, you need to think about the customer value base. Customer value base. That is, you think towards your customers. It's not towards your own profitability. So let's look at also the business. And that is the business who constantly innovate. We are also looking towards a business that they are welcoming changes and innovations. You cannot just stay on a business without innovating. You cannot think that, yes, what you have now, you have it in your mind, is not adjustable. It's not something that someone can innovate, can think towards or beyond what you have. Definitely, you have to have a good and services beyond your expectation. Your goods or services to be rendered, to be delivered to people, it has to be beyond your expectation. You need to open a room to think towards another innovations. And we have a data-driven business. You know, today we are in a data, we are dealing with artificial intelligence, which is dealing with data. So a data-driven business is important. Business, the data has been stored to use in terms of using such kind of intelligence. And we have lastly, what we call a tech-savvy business. Definitely this technology, using technology, I put it last, but it's a significant things, such as Alibaba, for instance. Thank you for listening. And also, I don't know if you have a question, the door is open. We can have a
no, it was very informative. It was very informative. Can you give us, our students, these young students, any advice regarding the developing their career in the Sharia banking and?
Yes, yes, of course, that's important. Towards that, we have, if for instance, you want to have this thing as a profession, you want to take it as a professional, we lack a lot of professionalism in the system, because the lack of human resources, that's what ginger us to key into this sector. That's what push us to be in the path. Now we are lacking human resources in that particular field. People, you have an opportunity in your hands. People can decide to embark on this journey, which is a very simple journey. It's not difficult, only that you need to pay your attention towards it and read wider, read wide, and also understand the fundamentals of Sharia. Sharia people think that cutting people's hands and also cutting head, killing people, this are, no, that one is 0.001%. Yes, but transaction, if you come to the issue related to Sharia, see the tradition of Prophet ﷺ, and the ayahs discuss over 80 verses in the Quran discuss about the issue related to transaction and commerce. If you come to the issue of hadith of Prophet, authentic hadith, over you cannot imagine the number of hadiths discussed in, and the kind of view and the kind of transaction activities discussed in the Prophet ﷺ tradition. So we have plenty literature written, we have plenty things. I will advise some of us that are coming and some that wanted to embark on this journey to start with reading. Read wide. Yes. If you read wide, we have plenty opportunities there waiting for you in terms of professionalism. You can think of which part I should embark on. It's not only Sharia, to be Sharia expert alone, CSA, or to be CSAA, or to be advisory board, to be, no, we have plenty places that are yet to be explored. We have a lot of environment that we need manpower, we need skills people to come in. So I will advise as the starting point, please let us go down deeper and also think of it, read it wider, and understand where we want to specialize our own destiny in it. That one will give us a chance to decide on appropriate body we want to destiny. We have plenty of bodies. We have RICS, we have auditors, that is Sharia auditing. We have capital, what do you call it? Capital regulators. And there are plenty organizations that are rendering certification on that field, on the field of Sharia. And we have Sharia advisories. We have, these are the plenty areas. We need to have some people, but you cannot decide a day just to say that go and do this without going down and read wider to understand the scale or to understand the scope of the Islamic economics or Islamic finance.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Tijjani. So I want to close the session. So thank you very much, sir, for sparing your time. I know these are the Eid holidays, and coming in these days and organizing this session is very, very difficult. So anyhow, for the sake of for our students, I am really thankful on their behalf that you come over.
Thank you. We have another program. Please, I will invite you to join my own session, please. So if you are willing, you can.
Yeah, sure.
Join
give
me.
us the invitation of my students will invite you. They will join you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, participants.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So much.